All right, guys, we got the blind slid off the trailer. We carried it over here on a 20-foot flatbed trailer. We slid it off into the shade here. We're going to assemble it together. Everything that goes across from pontoon to pontoon bolts on. So you can unbolt this and break this blind down and put it on a trailer and transport it wherever you need to. But we're going to bolt that main cross beam together there, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 other cross pieces that bolt to hold the two sides together, and we'll show you what that looks like in just a minute. All right, took us about 12-15 minutes to bolt it together, which we won't do again until duck season's over with, so that's not bad at all. As you can see, those members there that go across, they all bolt in place, so you can take it off. A couple of pad eyes if you want to just tow it or drag it behind a four-wheeler through a field or whatever. I'll show you later how we transport them. They got some cross braces at the top, and you just basically have a floating blind. These are 10-inch pontoons, super lightweight. This whole thing's extremely light. Spud pole to spud it down. Drive the boat in, because this is how you drive the boat in from this end. So you drive the boat in, just duck your head and drive the boat in. Now this roof is specifically done short. I don't want the roof way out here where I gotta duck my head and come out from underneath it and have this hitting me in my chest when I'm shooting. I want a big area between here and here to stand up and shoot and swing through. You're gonna brush this thing out this way and up this way to close this gap in the middle. And this actually, there's some pins that pull. There's 3 pins. And when you pull the pins, this roof will actually fold back down like this. So when you're entering and exiting the blind and moving around and walking around in there, you don't have all this brush stuck out in front of you. You got to duck your head the whole way until the boat gets to the front. So whenever you pull the pins, this just falls down flat like this, and the brush hangs straight down and completely opens it all the way up from this outside piece right here all the way to here to get in and out of the blind. What will Gator Trax think of next? All right, so we've got 2 10-foot by 20-foot panels from our friends at Camo Systems. If you guys are looking for some original Army camo netting like you had when you were a kid, that's the place to get it from. Those guys still make the real deal. And we got these panels from them. It's called their brushy panels. I think I'm saying that right. But it's a lot less see-through. The material that they leave behind covers the holes that you would normally have. And what we're doing now is we're just putting a base layer. That's all tie strapped nice and tight to the blind so that we have something to attach additional grass to. That was the whole purpose of this, was to be able to brush the snot out of it really heavy and never have to fool with it again for the rest of the duck season. Now here on the so we're going to keep brushing it. We got all kinds of stuff that synthetic stuff that we've got left over. We're cleaning out the skinning shed back there and all the old stuff that we had for other blinds. We're going to put it on here, and then we're going to go cut some needle grass, oyster grass, and some willows. Eventually once we get it out in the water, we'll cut some willows and put them on there as well, and this thing will be an absolute death trap for ducks. Blind, they do the base layer on it. What I mean by that is, this is not how I'm going to hunt out of this blind. This is just the base layer of stuff that we put on here at the camp. I cleaned out the skinning shed back there with, I had a bunch of Instagrass, I had a bunch of fast grass. Well, no fast grass on this, but I did have some tough brush. This stuff here is called tough brush. And I get that from Rogers Sporting Goods, and it's, you know, I think I saw it on sale the other day for $70 a pack, and you get 26 of these in a pack. So we probably got at least 2 packs of tough brush on this thing. We got 2 10 by 20 pieces of military camo, and we got 3 or 4 hanks of Instagrass. We probably got $350 worth of synthetic things that I don't plan to ever take that stuff off. Even when duck season's over, I'm just going to pull this back to the camp and go throw it back there behind the oak tree. And what I plan to do is when I get in the marsh, I'm going to go cut willows and python grass and stuff like that and attach it in between these areas and really give it some realism out there. But I don't want to bring that back to the camp and do it because then it's a little heavy to deal with. Right now it's still light enough I can pick it up with 4 guys and put it on a trailer and take it to the boat ramp right now. So we just got it brushed with a base layer of brush that we plan to start with before we cut the first live reel thing to put on it. And I didn't put any of this tough brush on this section. If you bring the camera in a little closer, you can see that this section is on an angle. And I plan to brush this with real grass, that python grass. It's a little softer. This stuff right here will put your eye out. It's really tough. That's what they call it. But I want to put that up here nice and high and coming out from the roof like this to where it'll meet in the middle, and then we can move it over to make our own holes and shooting ports to shoot up, and the rest of this big square opening down the middle that you see there, the rest of that looks so unnatural. See, if you look at these blinds, you can see the lines in these blinds. You know, there are no lines in nature. Nothing in nature has a line on it. So we're going to cover that with real brush that actually closes the gap that you'll stand to shoot through. But you won't have anything hard hitting you on your shoulders. This rail is way up here and the back rail is way back there. It's a big wide opening that we plan to cover with real brush, and that's the key. That is the key to brushing a duck blind. When you think you have enough on it, put 2 more loads and then you might have it. That's the key. Always overdo, never underdo. We're even going to take some willow trees and push them down in the mud out around the blind to kind of break it all up. And I'm going to tell you, if we don't kill ducks this year, it won't be because they saw us. This is going to be the way to do that. But come over here, come on in the blind with me. You can see the pontoons that we have on here, and you can see how the roof, the sides come up and angle in, and you'll be sitting in your boat. So if the water rises or the water falls, you don't have brush you shoved in the mud that's sticking up so high you can't shoot over it, or it's so low it's not covering you. And if you want to move, it's very easy to move. You pull the spud poles up and just drag it 20 feet, 40 feet, 200 yards, it doesn't matter. What I really like about it is if the wind shifts. If the wind shifts and I need to change the angle of that blind, it's 1 spud pole. You pick up 1 spud pole, turn the blind, and shove it back down to keep the wind at your back if that's where you want to be, or the sun, or anything else. This is a roof here that has 1 pin in the middle. It actually has 3 pins on it, but I've only got 1 end to hold it up. Now watch your head when I drop it there, Steve. And the roof will fold down out of the way to give you a little bit more room to come in and out where you don't have to duck your head. This grass is just kind of suspended up there. It's not going to hurt you if you hit it. But that bar is way back out of the way now rather than way out here like that. And of course when you get back in, you can just put the pin back in. That's it. 1 pin and it holds the roof up, or you pull the pin and drop it out of the way. The boat, if you come on in the blind again, let me show you this. Tow it if you'd like to. But because there's no rake on the front of the pontoon, it's a little slow going. We tried it. So what we did was we drove the boat up to here, and Jeff walked to one side, I walked to the other. We lifted it up and we set that bar across the front deck of the boat. And then Jeff went to the back and grabbed the motor and just drove with it, dragging alongside the boat like that. You could run 12, 14 miles an hour with this thing on a Marsh Series boat. So you really don't have to drag it behind you. It's so easy to move. But this is and look, hey, this would make a great field blind. Look how awesome it is just to stand in. So you just put chairs in here and hunt in a field. You could hunt any way you wanted to out of it. But the guys that are hunting down here in Louisiana where we are, what you do, we'll stand up there, brother. What you do is you go out and you cut willow trees, mum bushes, whatever you want to cut, and you go pick a site and you shove that stuff down in the mud and you pull in between it. It really doesn't cover you that's very good, but it's enough. And that's how you kill ducks down here. But the problem is you can't turn it if the wind changes. You got to pick a way to stick it to best for a northwest wind or best for a northeast wind or whatever it is, and you can't turn that. This thing you can spin easily on site in 2-3 seconds. Or if you decide halfway through the season that the ducks don't like that spot anymore and they want to be 200 yards over there, now instead of going fishing that evening or hanging out watching football, you got to go in the marsh and go cut and build another blind. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not 22 years old anymore, and that ain't no fun. I'm going to do this once. I'm going to put it in the marsh and I'm going to move it wherever I want to go. So that's the advantage of having one of these blinds like this, one of these drive-in Gator Trax blinds. It's going to change the way that you duck hunt. That's what we do at Gator Trax boats. All right, guys, so what we've done is we moved the blinds out here, and now we've started to cut some natural vegetation. And this is just some needle grass we get in the marsh. This has got a lot of bad stuff mixed in with it, and some of it will rot out, but for the most part, it'll stay here for the whole year. It's going to stink pretty bad, but it'll be all right. What we're doing is we're taking bundles of it about that big, putting a tie wrap around it. And then we're taking that bundle and we're laying it right there and running a tie wrap around that bundle. One tie wrap ties it to the blind. And the reason you only want to put one tie wrap on it is because you see how Reed's standing there in his hole that he made? He can sit down and he can take that stuff and easily cover the hole back up. So when you don't have a hunter here, you don't have a hole there that you need to cover. And now, Reed, if you pulled in the blind and decided to stand up and that's your spot, that's all you got to do. And we haven't even put the grass coming out from the roof yet. We'll show you what that looks like in just a minute. But this is the way, when I talk about brushing up and brushing out and closing the gap, this is the exact process I'm referring to. All right, you can see looking down this blind, we're starting to put it on the top. We've got it all coming up here and I've just pushed it out of my way so I can stand up right here. And then I'm just taking another piece of that stuff. I got a tie wrap around it right there and I'm laying it flat, straight down, just like that on the roof, sticking out that way, and putting the tie strap in it. And you only want to put one tie strap so that you can move them. If you tie them with two tie straps, they're going to be stiff and stick straight out, and you're going to have to break them to move them. But with one tie strap pulled tight, it'll stick straight out like that. And then watch when I'm going to duck down here, and like I'm in this blind, and I'm going to make myself a place to hunt a little closer to the camera. Now, that's the only hole I really need open. And when I get ready to shoot, I can stand up right through this and shoot. After you do that a couple of times, some of that stuff will break away. And I've got a hole to stand here and shoot. If I'm not here, it's very easy to just turn this stuff and close that hole up. That's the reason that you do it. And look, you're going to have them guys that you got helping you thinking that you're absolutely insane, that you've got, them guys that just left, they say, oh, we got enough cut to do 4 of these blinds. They barely had enough cut to do one. Just barely had enough to do one. So you won't regret it later in the season. Later in the season, when you don't feel like coming out here and touching it up, this will still be here. A lot of it will still be here. So I'm not saying you won't ever have to touch it up any, but it'll be very minimal. And it looks real. I mean, look at this. Argue with that. That's kind of tough to do.